Hi again, this is Ralph Boehm for the Legislative Update, and with me today filling in for Erica is...
You forgot my name?
No, you gotta...
I have to say my name. I'm Katherine Prudhomme-O'Brien. I'm a rep from Derry.
So, we got some things to do. One of the first bills we got to discuss today, and the one that was heard this past Tuesday, was the Parental Rights Senate Bill 272. We're all finished with the House bills. The Senate has got them. Now we got the Senate bills. So this was an all-day testimony in the Education Committee. If you can go online and look at the testimony, because it's all streaming, so you can look at it. It was 8 hours at Reps Hall, and the place was filled when I looked at it. Supposedly there was a bunch of reps all morning that spoke for and against, and then people, regular citizens, in the afternoon that spoke. And for those that don't know, it's the parents own the kids, the schools don't own your kids. So the whole thing, this comes back from years ago, but I remember, a nurse couldn't give your kid anything unless the parents approved. Now the schools are sending kids to therapy, counseling kids on different things without parents' knowledge. And that's wrong. We had a bill initially, the House HB 10 it was, that failed in the House by, I think, like 4 votes. No, and I brought this up in the previous show, no Democrat voted for it, period. And we expect that again. They think that the schools, the state owns your kids, not the parents.
I think the biggest thing with 272 was when people were concerned that the school would affirm a trans student and then not tell the parents. Mm-hmm. And if the parents ask, even the school staff doesn't have to tell the parents the answer about whether or not their kids are presenting as a different gender.
We'll keep it a secret.
Yeah,
and remember what that's done in the past.
I saw a lot of parents who were very concerned about just what you said, secrets. They didn't think that there should be any secrets kept from parents.
Right. Now, in the case of abuse, that's already taken care of. So, for example, if a student goes to a teacher and says, I think I'm gay, but I can't say anything to my parents because I'll get abused. The school, they have resource there to call DCYS. That's the only thing the school should do on that. If a kid threatens, I'll get not to send kids to therapy without the parents knowing it, or send teachers. There's psychologists in a lot of schools, but do they have any training on gender identity? And there was one young lady that testified, and she was also at another meeting. She thought she was wanted to be a male. So she went, and got all this counseling and stuff, and so she started getting, before she was even 12, they started giving the testosterone shots in medicine. So she, started becoming, and then some years later, she even had like at 14 a mastectomy. She also, before that, she was being binding, and that caused her chest problems, because if your body can't go out, it's got to go in. So she has chest problems.
So she still has some problems from wearing the binder,
right,
where her top part of her chest is much thinner than the bottom part of the chest, and she's about 20 now.
Yeah.
I don't remember what state she's from. I don't know if she even mentioned it.
No.
But her parents actually did know, and they were helping her with transitioning. So this was like a little bit of a different situation, but she changed her mind. And one thing we hear a lot is that they're not doing surgeries and they're not doing these medicalizations of people under the age of 18. Well, that absolutely is happening.
Right.
known people myself that have done that, and she, of course, is a example of having been
then she
medicalized.
decided when she was nearly 18, well, I don't want to do this. I'm really a female. I don't want to be a female. But now it's a little late. Her voice is deeper than a normal female, and she, if she gets pregnant and has a baby, she can't nurse the baby because she had a mastectomy. I mean, it's really, I understand she's got lawsuits against all these organizations that push this on her.
She doesn't know if she'll ever be able to have
Right, even
get pregnant.
right.
Because she's having some other problems, some gynecological problems, and she
Right,
may need
yeah,
a
I mean,
hysterectomy soon.
With all the hormones taken against being a woman type thing. So I mean, it's really bad. And I know parents here in Litchfield that had a boy and a girl, and they both wanted to be opposite, and their father told them, I don't care how you dress or what you do, but you're not getting any surgery or anything until 18. Now, I've umpired, and when she was speaking to us, I'm going, well, wait a minute. I've umpired girls softball for many years, and I've seen the transition from girls, like 10 years old to 18-year-olds, the same girl. And like 10-year-olds, they're like tomboys, a lot of them. Dirty fingernails, they don't care if they're dirty, they're sliding at the base and on all that. And then come 12, 13, I'm going, where's Mary? Oh, the little princess out there. Who's got the fingernails all done and, the hair all clean and everything and afraid to run the bases and slide because she might get scratched. Yeah. And then a couple of years later, they're all of a sudden what I call female jocks. They're women until they put that uniform on, and then, it's anything goes type thing. And then come a few years after that, like they're now young ladies. And so
you're saying you go through a lot of changes.
A lot of
changes. Different ideas. I think that it was really difficult to hear about the medical issues this woman and another young woman who's from New England. She was talking about, I think she lives in Mass but works in New Hampshire or vice versa. That young woman, they were talking about their medical problems, but the woman I think you're talking about is Chloe, the one that had the mastectomy, and she has scars that are not healing, and it's been more than 4 years or so.
Right, she has had skin grafts and whatnot, and they're not working. And
it's really sad, and she has a discharge that does not stop,
right,
because the scars, the wounds don't heal. Right. That's really thin skin in that area, and also they think the surgeon thinks he might have done something with the gland or something with the glands that not completely removed, they should have been, or something like that. But when she tried to get care for it afterwards, she was treated as if she didn't exist. She was very frustrated by the fact that they treated her like she wasn't having problems.
Yeah, they didn't want to admit they made a mistake.
So I think she's suing.
That's
the way to get their attention.
And she said that her parents feel very guilty about they didn't, But the thing is, a lot of this is going on in the schools without parental knowledge, and that's wrong. I mean, you couldn't give a kid an aspirin unless the parents. Now you can send them to psychiatrists and other people we have a secret, And what if it was the other way around? Let's say a kid goes and tells a teacher, I think I'm gay, and they send them to psychiatrists and psychologists trying to convince them not to. No, then the opposite would be up in arms about, parental rights. So, I mean, this can go both ways.
Ralph, if somebody has a personal conversation with you and tells you they think they might be gay, that maybe you may be the only person that they've talked to. But if it goes farther and the person is then living out in the school community as a different gender, that's semi-public. Why would they want that known to the parents? Why? That's not the same as a private conversation that just stays between two people.
Oh yeah, if once the school then takes further action on it.
And if the kid
And
is
then
is using another name and is telling everyone else that they're trans, there's
yeah.
no reason why the parents
Oh, yeah,
shouldn't
well,
know
there was
that.
one case that we heard about where the parents go for the parent-teacher thing, and the teacher goes, Jimmy is really doing great in school. And they go, Jimmy? We don't have a Jimmy. And it was, we had a Mary or whatever, and Mary wants to now be Jimmy. You know, the parents have no idea until the parent-teachers conference. Yeah. So that kind of stuff where the kid tells the school they want now to be this name, that should be parental only. You know,
That's something the parents should know about.
but you know about and say, yes, you can call him Jimmy or whatever.
Yeah. So no secrets. I agree.
So anyway, so that bill's going to come up probably on May 4th or sometime, and we'll see how the vote goes on it. But it passed the Senate, and hopefully, you know, we only have a very small majority.
Yeah, every bill we have to look at the population that we have there that day.
Oh, yeah, pretty
And
much.
and I made a comment to the speaker early on in the session that I would be there every time that I can make it, unless I'm in the hospital.
Yeah.
And he said, "We'll send an ambulance." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, oh yeah, we'll make sure you as long as you're not in a coma, and you
there
can
are
press
two-
that button, you're
That
there."
got me on one rep that wasn't there on one of the type bills that failed because some reps weren't there. That was having cataract surgery. No, I'm sorry, that's elective surgery and can be done anytime. Not this time of year, you know. So, and that kind of stuff. We also have two, a Democrat and a Republican, that bring their little babies with them, nursing babies, you know.
That is
And
different this year.
And I look at it this year this way. If somebody can come in that's nursing the baby and taking care of the baby, there's no excuse. You know? So, and she makes the, yeah. So, to me, you know, unless you're sick. One interesting note, I thought 2 years ago when we had the voting on the budget when we were in Manchester or Bedford,
The
Bedford.
sportsplex.
Yeah, it was, we had like, what was it, 370, I think, people, and that's the most I've ever seen. This past budget, we heard 389 people.
So we
That
only
means
have-
only 8
11.
people were, because there's only 497.
Oh, yeah,
397.
Yeah, we've got a few vacancies.
Yeah, because there's 2 reps from the Democrat side that haven't. That one's a special election, 2 special elections coming up, and one guy that won his election from Nashua but has never been sworn in. Mm-hmm. So
And he's on our committee.
no, he's not anymore.
Oh, he's not?
No, that was the one that disappeared.
Because he was constantly getting substitutes.
Right, yeah, but
We
he
get
was never
these
even,
random Democrats
he was
in our
never
committee.
even sworn in. Yeah.
I should say congratulations to you. We have a new vice chairman for election law.
Well,
so very
We
good.
know how
Thank
that
you.
should have been. Yeah, but anyway.
Well, I think it's great that they selected you for the vice chairman of election
Well,
law.
I-
Congratulations, Ralph.
Thank you. Now I have to behave myself. Okay. A little on the budget. The budget passed the House, now on the Senate. So nothing that we did really, so I'm not going to go into it too much for the budget because the Senate now has it and they're going to make changes. But people keep going up about education funding. And we've had some on our Facebook side about why aren't we giving more money to schools? Mike's argument back to him, why are we spending more money on schools? Because we had, on our luck, unfortunately, when we had the last town election, our date was not changed like other towns did, and it should have been. I mean, for like 2 weeks later.
For the snowstorm?
Yeah. But anyway, if it had been delayed, the budget would have been entirely different. The school budget passed by, I think it was 13 votes or something like that. With a $700,000 difference between the operating budget and the default.
Oh, that's not much.
That's the most ever. Usually the default is higher. But anyway, this year they did it right. But anyway, that's like 75, 80 cents on the tax rate. But it passed. Now, it wouldn't have passed if we had the delay, because a lot of the elderly people and whatnot didn't come out to vote. So my argument back to them, don't look at the state to give you money that you're overspending. And for example, we did increase. The governor came recommendation for that, what they call adequacy aid, was $7,345,842 for Litchfield. And we increased that to $7,731,933. Derry's was $30
You
million.
mean 41?
What?
Is it 31?
Yeah, and Derry was $30,878,652, but $33 million was passed. Now that's still, the Senate could do anything they want with that. They can put it back to what the original government budget was. So, and there's a lawsuit going on again and again and again about the $4,000, a little more, $4,200 is not an adequate education. But who can define an adequate education? Every town has a different model. I mean, some towns are only spending $15,000 per student. Some are spending $23,000 per student. So it's ridiculous. So what is an adequate education? And for example, charter schools, which are public schools, they complete their education with half of what normal public schools do. Like $9,000, and they can do everything they want. You know, the only difference is they don't have the special ed, but that's not that much more. The big problem with charter schools, they don't have the big bureaucracy that is spending a lot of money. So charter schools can do it. There's no other reason regular public schools can't do it either.
I do know somebody that attended a charter school and would have needed some special ed if they attended a regular school, but because of the smaller environment at a charter school and just getting a little bit more known by the staff, they were able to overcome many of those issues.
That's happened a lot. Also, too, a lot of the arguments come up with Academy of Science and Design, which is in Nashville, which is a STEM thing. If you ever visit there, people say, well, the diversity, all that. That was the most diverse school I've ever seen. I mean, every race, creed, whatever, nationality is in that school. I mean, and charter schools are public schools. Anybody can go to them. You have to pretty much a lottery to get in because they're limited on space. So the two, I mean, mainly for like Litchfield Academy of Science and Design in Nashua, and Founders Academy in Manchester, which is just on North Permanent Road on the airport, so it's not that far away. And those schools were always rating higher than a lot of the public schools in the area on their grades. So that's it. So it's not how much the state, it's how much we are paying and why I think I read one article that said that aid in the last 5 years or so went up $1 billion, not aid, but school spending, $1 billion for 30,000 less students. In Litchfield itself, we're probably 1/3 less than what we were. We used to have, I mean, when I was on the school board some dozen years ago, we had 3 schools. There was like 500 kids in each school. Now our total is 1,000. So we've lost 500 kids. Population hasn't changed much. So, I mean, there's a private school at St. Francis, which is now adding on because of the people that want to go. Why are they going? One of the problems in New Hampshire is not like the Southeast and the Midwest where they're county school systems, where every town is is a separate school system, which is part of the problem. But, okay, education freedom accounts, Democrats put in a bill to say, before you can go take an education freedom account to go to a private school, and that's for the state, it's giving you the adequacy aid they would have given to the public school. They put it in an account for the parents to use to send their kids to a private school. So it's just state money.
But they put in the bill that you have to attend the school for a private school for 1 year.
Public school.
I mean, the public school for 1 year
before you can go. That unfortunately passed the House by a few votes, but the Senate has already killed it.
That is not practical for a lot of families.
No, if you have
And it makes no sense if you already know what you want, maybe from your experience with your older child, and then your younger child. Why do you have to send your younger child to school for 1 year? This seems to me like, you know what it is? I think that a lot of people that are very pro-public education are insulted that people would think about alternatives.
Right.
And they think that, maybe they just don't know. They need to literally get educated on this by sending their child to that school for 1 year. What if after 2 months you realize that that's not a good fit for your specific child? You still have to stay for another 8 months.
I know it was one of these things is trying to doing everything they can to get rid of EFA, education freedom accounts. And no, I mean, if you think your kid going to get a better education, say at Founders Academy, and you already got it, and that's a charter school, that's a public school, that's not even for these funds, but if you're homeschooling, and EFA homeschooling, which is different than homeschooling. In other words, you still have to take a test to prove that you're being educated rather than other homeschooling. Or your kid's going to, say, St. Francis up the street. And now this bill would have required that kid to go to, say, Griffin for a year, even their brother or sister was going to St. Francis.
It would be quite
didn't make any
disruptive.
sense. Yeah.
You know who that would also be disruptive to is foster children.
Oh, right.
Because it's not very easy to find a foster home in the exact same community that you are already attending school in. But there's a lot more flexibility in charter schools and private schools with that issue.
Right.
That they don't need to be in the exact same community or find or if they live with grandparents
So
or an aunt in a different community.
Yeah, it's part of that. The whole thing is trying to do niche away EFAs. Anyway, also now an election law, and Catherine and I are both on election law. One of the problems we have is the current voting machines are end of life. In other words, the company's not making them anymore. They're not updating them anymore. You're not going to be able to get parts for them anymore.
Yeah.
So the Secretary of State and the
Ballot
Ballot
Law
Law Commission is looking at new machines. Now, one of the problems is 2002, or some 2002, the state and every other state got HAVA money, Help America Vote Act. This was, Congress did this, and we got like $12 million for the Help America vote. We still have $12 million. The Secretary of State, it's making interest, so we're spending a little bit. But for some reason, the Secretary of State doesn't want to spend any of that money. Now, the problem comes up with in the next year or so, after this coming election, all these machines will probably have to be replaced. Who's going to pay for that? And we're saying use HAVA money for that. Help America Vote Act.
Do you think that HAVA money funds should be used for that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because
it's only got to be $3 million out of that $12 million, which they won't want to touch.
Are they currently using those funds for training for election workers?
No, not that much.
Okay.
There's $12 million they still have $12 million. They're using the interest they're making on it for training and that kind of stuff. But no way they're coming close to spending.
Okay.
So
Okay,
this is on the cost
but-
$3 million for the new machines.
But historically, when a community wants to use electronic ballot counting machines, they have paid for them. They're not a huge expense. How much are they? I think $8,000 or
Yeah,
so.
around that.
It's not insurmountable considering how long they last. The current ones that we have now were all put online in the late 80s.
90s.
Goodness
No,
gracious,
90s.
have they gotten a lot of use out
Yeah,
of
but-
each and every one of those. And if you break that down by year,
Yeah.
how much do they spend by
But the
year?
problem is there are some that have bought new ones, say in the last 5-10 years, because they needed extra.
Mm.
And look at like Manchester, for example, which have 2 or 3 machines in every ward. So also, we're not talking about towns that are still hand counting to get those machines.
We're kind of in the middle of a lot of things right now regarding that. The ones that we have now that are pretty that are old, they are still pretty accurate. And I've been involved in
yes.
a lot of recounts, and I'm impressed with how accurate
Oh,
they
right.
are.
The AccuVote machines are very accurate. I've always said that they're more accurate than hand counting, because especially when your hand counting is being done at 2:00 in the morning. Come on.
Well, I hope that's not done at 2:00 in the morning.
Well,
I think that's a
that's what
situation
some of
where
it is.
I know. I think the wards,
Sure.
the clerks need to hire a few more
Because
people.
I remember when I was a selectman back in the 90s, in early 90s, it was, I think it was 4:00 in the morning, we were hand counting. And I said, we got to look
Well,
at,
that's not good.
machines first
Yeah.
started coming out. Hudson and Bedford had them. So the moderator and I went, the next election, we went to see, and the following year it was on the ballot. Yeah. Because, yeah,
The Ballot Law Commission will be recommending
right.
a specific kind of electronic ballot counting machine to replace these, and those are being tested in different communities.
Right.
I think
They've been
Ashland is
testing for a
one.
while.
London, no, it's only been like 2 years or so that they've been doing this,
They're testing them, but
testing them.
they knew this was coming, and they should have been.
Well,
There's only one machine that I
it's a
think
challenge.
that I think they're probably doing 4 that I'm in favor of. It's because it uses the same ballots that are used now, and it takes pictures of the ballots. So to me, that's the one they should go with. But we don't know what they're going to come up with, because that way it saves the state a lot of money, because they can still go to the same printer and say this is what we want. But they're supposed to be more. The big problem, the machines being used now are very, very accurate. I don't think we've had a race change from the voting machines to the hand counting.
Not even in Windham where they had all
Not
those
right, and that
problems.
was a personnel problem. Was not a
That
machine problem.
that was a folding of the ballots
Yeah,
issue where they should not have been folded that way. The personnel should have known to not do that,
Right,
but
right. So anyway,
that wasn't the machines.
So I think we're out of time.
Mostly.
So hopefully join the show, and hopefully in a few weeks after the next session, we'll be back to see what happens again. Okay.
Great to
Thank you.
join you.